morning and thanks for joining me for Cuppa and a Card today. I'm really excited about today's video because I'm going to show two techniques that I've never seen done in videos before with demonstrators, and they're techniques that I really enjoy, and they're incorporating water. Water is one of my favorite things to add to my paper crafting. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's a lot of ways that I've seen in videos. These two I haven't seen, so I hope they're new to you too, and that you enjoy them and that you give them a try. Before we do the stamping though, I'll just tell you what's in my cup since this is Cuppa and a Card. I actually have some lavender buttercream tea in my cup. It's one of my favorites right now, and I'm kind of glad. I just recently got into buying David's tea. I'm not trying to promote them or anything, but I kind of loaded up before this whole thing went down where everyone's inside more, and I'm glad because it's absolutely delicious. So tell me what's in your cup this morning. I hope you've got something yummy and that you'll enjoy stamping with me today. Okay, so when working with water, I definitely recommend watercolor paper or the shimmer white. Both of them are more absorbent than the whisper white, and they work great with any techniques with water. So to start off, we're going to bring in the Stamparatus. I've been doing lots of stamping. We're artists, right? So it's okay if we get a little messy. I'm just going to put that there and move my stamp to where I want it. The reason why I want to use the Stamparatus with the watercolor paper especially is because the paper has these, there's like a variance to the surface. So it would be very easy to stamp and not to have like little voids and stuff when you're stamping because the paper isn't entirely smooth. So I wanted to use the Stamparatus so that if I needed to stamp again, I could. So yeah, that was not a great stamp. So I'm gonna go, and I can do that as many times as I want to make sure that it's as dark as I want it to be. Okay, I'm happy with that. And I should mention that I decided to use the StazOn because it really is what you want when you're using water, because it's not going to react with the water, it's not going to bleed or move. So I'm just going to stamp my sentiment now on the shimmer white as well. Okay, now for this first technique. This is one, again, that I've heard about, but I have not seen a video of, so they may exist out there, but it's new to me. So what we're going to use today to watercolor is this piece of plastic. Stampin' Up! Does sell window sheets, but you do not need to buy the window sheets, because if you have any photopolymer stamp sets, you're going to see that there's an extra sheet of plastic on top of each set, and once you open your set and start using it, I tend to stick my photopolymer stamps right on the stamp case itself, so you don't even need this top sheet. And you can use it for watercoloring, believe it or not. So this is how we do it. Maybe we'll get some orange colors. And you can pick up your sheet and stick it right on the stamp pad, or you can apply the stamp pad to the sheet, like that. Whatever you want to do. Both works. So the colors I'm using here is Calypso Coral, Grapefruit Grove, and Terracotta Tile. Okay. I must have been thinking about these colors when I picked my shirt today. Kind of coordinate. Okay, so now we're just going to take a Stampin' Spritzer. The Spritzer's been used for many things. As you can see, there's some shimmery paint stuck to the sides, but it's not shimmery anymore. It's just straight water in there. Tested it beforehand. So we're just going to spray this paper well. And especially if you're working with the watercolor paper, you can really be generous with that spraying, because the watercolor paper really does soak up a lot. So we're just going to flip this over and paint with our plastic sheet. And you can lift it and you can move it. Like this. And as you can see, that sentiment is not affected because it's not a water-based ink. You can just let it pool wherever, and then wherever it pools, it's going to be darker in those areas. Fun. Maybe for my for this one, I'll try some different colors just for fun. So maybe I'll bring in some blues for this one. Oh, got a little drop from my other card. It's all right. Now, since this is the shimmer white, I'm not going to go quite so crazy with the spritzing. Maybe just a tiny bit more. I want to make sure that I can move the ink around. Okay. Very different look with less water, but it's still pretty. I like it. Now, as you can see, my paper is kind of warping a little bit, but that's okay. As it dries, that will alleviate a little bit. And if you had lots of time, if you're doing this at night, you could just set them overnight and they could dry overnight. Or if you're in a rush, you can bring in your heat tool and dry those. So I'm bringing in, again, another piece of watercolor paper and shimmer white paper. I'm going to try a technique that's a little bit different. Instead of using the acetate sheet, we're going to use our block. And you've probably seen a background done just by pressing the block to the paper, but today we're going to be painting with the block. And I wanted to incorporate some photopolymer stamps because not all of our stamps are rubber stamps, and we want to do watercolor techniques with our photopolymer ones, but photopolymer is not recommended to be used with the StazOn. The StazOn has an adverse effect on them and wears them out quicker, so you're going to want to use Memento ink for the photopolymer stamps. Okay, so we will be using the Memento, but we can't do it first because that would smear and smudge and run. So what we'll do is we'll do our background first, then we'll dry it with our heat tool, and then we'll use the Memento for a sentiment. So let's get our acrylic blocks going. Just like the other technique, we're going to be applying the ink directly to our block. Now you can do this with markers as well, but if you're going to do it with the markers, make sure that they are the Stampin' Write markers. Those are water-based, so they will react with water. If you try to use our alcohol-based markers that we call the blends, they will just stick to your block and they will not move. Just add a little bit of blue there. You'll have a pretty block and no paint on your paper. Okay, so maybe we'll just set that one aside and do this one. Okay, so again, we've got watercolor paper. We don't need to worry about water. We can have lots and it will soak it right up. I'm going to try to just smear this across like I'm painting with it rather than just smacking it down. So I can pick it up and I can move it again. Okay, that worked pretty good. Let's try it with the next one. Here we go with our water. And this is our shimmer white. What was wild about that? I might have a little bit more. Okay, so this one, kind of weird, but whatever. Maybe it'll grow on me as we go. So we're just gonna hit this with the heat tool to make sure that it's nice and dry before we use the memento. And our heat tool has two settings. The first setting is for drying things. The second setting is for embossing, so just a little bit more hot. So we'll go ahead and get these nice and dry. Okay, they seem good and dry now, so we can go into our sentiment. There, actually, I'm quite happy with that. Again, with the memento is what you want when you get photopolymer stamps, so that you can keep them in good condition and stamp with them for many years to come. Now with this one, I want to fill up this whole space with this sentiment. So another nice little benefit to the Stamparatus is you can use these notches and your sentiment will stay lined up and even all the way down. And we'll just bring in all of our beautiful card fronts. And I cut these just the right size for a note card. I like the very vanilla when I'm working with the papers that we've been working with today, the watercolor papers, because they're not as bright as Whisper White. They're almost a vanilla, not quite that dark, but I just feel like vanilla. It goes a little bit better with the shimmer white and the watercolor paper. So we're just gonna add our card fronts to our card bases. So there you have it, there are my backgrounds. So I hope you enjoy that and give it a shot. I made another card preparing for this class without any stamping. I just used a die. This die is now retired. I didn't have any other word dies to show, but that's another alternative to stamping. Just do up your background with your acetate sheet and add your die cut sentiment. It makes a really nice stack of note cards to give to somebody. So I hope you enjoyed this and that you give it a shot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.